is the vegan anarchist.
Wait, it's live now?
Yeah, it's live.
Live.
Yep, it's now telling me that it's live. Okay.
Yes, live. Don't worry.
So, did you guys hear that Milo Yiannopoulos wrote an article on Breitbart about how he was actually trying to get himself banned from Twitter?
Failio.
Also, the reason why Twitter actually ended up banning him. You know what's funny? This guy loves capitalism so much. So capitalism decides that he's a dick and kicks him off of a platform.
Yeah, it's pretty ironic.
It was actually a capitalist reason that he got kicked off. It was because Twitter's the stock prices started to drop. I've never understood these capitalists who are like, oh, pro-free speech, but then they're like, I'm pro-free market, so it's like, well, if you're pro-free market and you think a company should be able to do whatever they want and to make sure they get money, then you shouldn't be against the fact that they've banned Milo.
Milo's hurting Twitter's stock price?
Well, the Twitter stock, well, he was. That's why Twitter banned him. He hurt Twitter when he attacked Leslie Jones and got all those people to dogpile on her. They ended up, because their stock prices dropped, the only way they could save their stock prices was by banning Milo.
Yeah. Isn't he a professional troll?
Actually, so just about.
Yes,
Pretty
he
much
is.
a troll.
Well, I mean, also, all these free Milo assholes are just whiny. They're kind of like the gamer gators, where they're just whiny kids who didn't get their way, really, in the end. But, yeah, so, I mean, he's also said, I'm practically an ANCAP, except I want a big army, which isn't as contradictory as it sounds.
No, it's not really. It's not really good.
Yeah.
ANCAPs are only against imperialism, nominally speaking.
That's kind of true, actually. I mean,
they're against. If you ask them if they're for imperialism, they're against imperialism.
of course,
But when they're for a system that requires imperialism to run.
Yeah, they are. And here's the thing: if we were in an ANCAP society, and let's say I had business A, you had business B, your business is growing a lot faster than mine, Ross. All right?
Yep.
Your business is growing much faster than my business is, but I've got the bigger business. I've got the bigger private security firm. What's stopping me? What is actually stopping me from getting my private security army and just shutting you down because you refuse to be bought by me and so I can get a monopoly? What's stopping?
Because I said to Ninja to put a bullet in your head. That's what's stopping you. I killed you, and now I've taken over your company, which would really be the only way a small company could ever take over a big company or even survive as a company in that situation.
Yeah, but good luck shooting the CEO in the first place. I mean, they're hiding behind a big private army.
Assassinations have worked, inside jobs. I mean,
well,
I was implying stealth, but I mean, I'm being quite pedantic here. I understand exactly what you're saying. There's nothing stopping you from just buying my company. If you can just eliminate my private army. The only way is that I'd have to act preemptively before you ever tried to buy. I mean, violence would be one of the biggest things required in an actual anarchist society. There's no requirement for violence.
Yeah, and those free Milo idiots. Man.
They're just a bunch of butthurt babies having a circle jerk.
Yeah, that's what they are.
I love the way Kevin Logan puts shit like that.
Yeah.
It really is. Even Sargon said that he was kind of on the free Milo side, but he's like, he did kind of say that Milo had it coming. Like after
we don't know all the ins and outs of why Milo Yiannopoulos got talked down. People say he could have, like his fans were using fake tweet generators or something, but I don't know.
There were fans using fake tweet generators to make it
He
look
was
like
too.
Leslie Jones was saying stuff, homophobic stuff.
Yeah,
Which is
but
funny. It's funny. They want to hop on the you can't be anti-gay when it suits them. But almost
when,
any other time, like Milo may be gay, but he seems to hop on that anti-gay bandwagon pretty quick.
he does, and I don't know why. He seems like he's almost cooked to it.
Did you say always cuffed to it, or?
He's almost cooked to it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And
But
some
yeah,
reason he's got this.
Twitter stock prices went down. Milo has a history of inciting harassment. He has a history of getting suspended for violating Twitter's code. So it's quite possible that this is just the last straw for Twitter. Because Twitter had been getting Milo to try and follow rules, and he refused to do so, and he got banned.
I mean, he agreed with him when he signed up, right?
Yep. Well, also, want to know something quite ironic? He wrote an article on Breitbart in 2012 about how maybe these companies should start doing that, like companies like Facebook and Twitter should start doing bans if people can't stop being trolls and people can't stop inciting harassment. That he's for free speech, but if you can't be respectful on a platform, maybe you deserve to have it taken away. So he wrote that article, and now he's gone and complained that, I mean, I actually highly doubt that he really wanted to be banned from Twitter. I think he's just trying to save face at this point. Because, I mean, come on, he's a conservative. Of course he's trying to save face. I mean, look at the Orlando shooting. Suddenly all the anti-gay Republican politicians come out and they say, we need to defend the LGBT community. And a lot of these same people were trying to prevent LGBT people from getting married and from getting rights. But when they hate one group more than another, they're going to go and they are going to basically defend that group. They're going to go. So all of a sudden, they're supposedly the heroes of the LGBT. In fact, this is real white knighting. This isn't just a guy choosing to be. This is not a guy being a feminist because he actually believes in the right. This is actual white knighting that's going on. Is they're literally just trying to get. Except it's not they're trying to get laid. They're trying to get votes. But still, this is more like white knighting than a man being a feminist. A man being a feminist isn't always white knighting. Sure, there could be a few guys who are. Sorry, I'm hearing an echo. Okay, so there could be a few guys who are feminists who are simply trying to white knight and get laid, which doesn't even eliminate the fact that they're actually right. But when a conservative politician who has been trying to prevent LGBT rights for upwards of 2 decades, suddenly, after a bunch of gay people get shot up at a nightclub, decide that they're pro-LGBT, do you think they're not white knighting, so to speak? No, that's exactly what they're doing. They're white knighting for votes. They don't want to lose their power in Congress. They know that the Democrats have a much better standing with the LGBT community than they do. They know the liberals have a better stance on them. So what do they want to do? They want to make themselves look like they're LGBT friendly.
Of course they do. Of absolute course they do. They don't have any principles. All they want to do is choose the right thing because this will get me more votes. I mean, that's what a lot of them are like. Hillary Clinton only just converted to supporting gay marriage when a majority of people actually supported it as well.
It had to be more than a majority because it went 52%. She's like, no, I'm still against it. And then 55%. Yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
She said so. I mean, she is an in the closet. She's an in the closet neocon, quite honestly. I mean, she also used to be a Republican too, like a registered Republican. So I mean, if you like, she's not a liberal in any way. Like, I mean, I don't like. I mean, I'm not a big fan of liberals, but I mean, if it comes to a liberal versus a conservative, I'm going to agree on a lot. I'm going to agree on a lot more with the liberal, and
But
that's just
accelerationism.
accelerationism. Can always end up, especially considering in America that the power structures that preserve something like conservatism would still be intact if they're if you look at how, if you compare how Russia managed to get a left-wing authoritarian government as opposed to their right-wing authoritarian government, and why Germany got their right-wing authoritarian government, it's because Germany still had the power structures in place that favored right-wing politicians. Russia had just gotten rid of their czars, had gotten rid of all their they managed to get rid of all the powers that they basically had a completely destroyed system. So it was open for anyone who was really revolutionary to take place. That person just happened to be Stalin, and Stalin just happened to take power because he was really good. He was honestly just really good at conquest. I mean, but Hitler managed to take power, and the reason why Hitler took power much rather than some sort of supposedly communist dictator or some other, or the anarchists who were in Germany at the time, or the Marxists in Germany at the time, why the Marxists and anarchists hadn't had any kind of hold in, which, by the way, I'm not using them interchangeably, as you guys know. I'm not that. No, I think so I'm just saying that these are both active communities throughout Europe at the time, because a lot of things were hectic after World War One. So
Yeah.
World War One had completely destroyed the government, had completely destroyed the whole governance system of Russia, which then became the USSR, the United Soviet Socialist Republic. And then there was but the Nazis, because there was the power structure was still preserved there, it still favored right-wing politics. Power structures were destroyed in places like Spain, and Franco didn't find cooperatives as an actual threat to his power, which is why there's still a cooperative there today. Of course, when cooperatives expand, they kind of have to adopt more capitalist methods, as Badmouse pointed out in his video recently about why they seem to fail in a capitalist system. That has to do with the fact that capitalism runs the world so much that if you even try to escape it, you kind of fail because you don't have the tools given to do anything in any other way. Like, I mean, you can talk about how a pure capitalist system too would require imperialism. A social democratic system wouldn't require as much imperialism. It would probably still require a little bit. But I mean, if it comes to less imperialism versus more imperialism, accelerationism doesn't work. You wouldn't destroy the fundamental system that keeps the right wing in power in America if you accelerated the government's collapse. It's not going to work because the structures would still be in place. You can't really induce a whole collapse. The government has a lot of ways to stop its collapse completely. It's a very intricate system designed to be against stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
Germany almost had a revolution in 1919, 1920, but it failed.
yeah, it failed because the structures were still there. Voting Hitler didn't seem to be a very good accelerationist move. If people voted for Hitler hoping that it would accelerate the collapse of the German power structure, they were mistaken. Even after World War II, the power structure wasn't completely destroyed. I mean, it was humbled quite a bit by the fact that it got beaten because Hitler had the military genius of a fucking rooster. But I mean, he had enough he was good enough in economics that he convinced people that fascism was the way to go. And I mean, if anything, like, you can say Hitler was definitely a smart guy with a lot of charisma in that way, but when it comes to his as a military strategist, he was absolute bollocks at it. And I'm sorry, I've been dominating this conversation. You guys can jump in.
Yeah, let's go back to the whole alt-right issue.
Yeah, please.
All right, let's talk about the neo-fascists. We got it.
Okay.
So, yeah. Well, I mean, the alt-right seems to have a similar psychology to a lot of like I call it the neo-fascists. So they seem to have a lot of psychology that goes back to, like, Nazi Germany, where they seem to have this cult of personality, especially surrounding Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, Donald Trump.
I mean, the cult of personality was seen with Hitler. It was seen with Stalin. It was seen with Mussolini, with Franco. That both fascism and the left-wing equivalent of it have been. I call it the left-wing equivalent because it doesn't meet all the requirements of fascism, which is to be massively pro-capitalist or pro-state or massively pro-capitalist in the way that the Nazis were. The Nazis were pro-capitalist in a way that the USSR wasn't pro-capitalist. They had two different forms of state capitalism. Fascism was merge the businesses directly with the state, and that's their form of state capitalism. The idea was just give the state ownership of everything in the USSR, and that is our version of state capitalism. And when I say state capitalism, I mean state controlled, because I bet there are people in the comments right now saying, "Oh, it's not state capitalism," or whatever. Or it's not capitalism, it's communism. Although, I mean, I don't know why they would be watching a channel called the Vegan Anarchist if they were super anti-communist or super anti-socialist. But I mean, you see that they have this cult of personality around Trump. That Trump is like they treat Trump like he's their savior.
You do.
I have a friend who's not even alt-right. Like, he's a self-proclaimed socialist. He says he wants to vote for Donald Trump to, quote, see what happens. Like, he says he thinks it'll be funny to have Trump in office. Which, I mean, honestly, best case scenario, we just have a goofball in office who doesn't get anything done. Worst case scenario, this guy starts World War III, or we get
nukes.
Or we get nuked because he's on Twitter having a war with Demi Lovato. I mean, so yeah, worst case scenario, he's incompetent. Best case scenario, he's incompetent. Nothing gets done. He's like George W. Bush.
Okay. I think if Trump actually goes into office, I think he's just going to be a continuation of the status quo. He says all this shit. He says a lot of weird shit, and this leads to his cult of personality building up because they view him as a guy who just says what the fuck he wants. He's not getting put down by the establishment or whatever. But
okay, so I think
Trump.
He also gets a lot of money from Sheldon Adelson.
He does.
Can I say something? Can I say something real quick? I personally think that Donald Trump, if he is elected, which I believe he probably will be, I believe that Donald Trump probably would end up being continued. Like you, I believe he would probably just be what I named as the best case scenario, that he's just incompetent and doesn't manage to get anything done. And he doesn't manage to get all this stuff that he promises done. I think that's what's going to actually happen.
Yeah, nothing will change.
He'll probably be like Bush with more of a circus than actual Bush.
Oh yeah, he'd have a new reality show in the White House, Paul. You have all these immigrants play these games, and and the prize for the winner is that they don't get deported.
That's one way to put it, actually. That'd be pretty funny.
Oh, Natalie Alfred's funny as hell.
It'd be an awesome show, but it'd be a bit sad.
I wouldn't even watch it. It would be another reality show. I hate reality shows.
Yeah, me too. Fuck reality shows.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
But I mean, honestly, it's just, I don't, like I said, I really think Donald Trump, but I mean, I'm worried that Donald Trump will be his best. I'm prepared for the worst, which the worst is that he's like the second coming of Mussolini.
That's a chance, but I don't think that's going to happen. You know, I don't even think he's going to try to win anymore. I think he's actually just going to say, you know, I just did that so I could actually get my name out there more. He's a narcissist.
Well, yeah,
Trump is
the original, there was, one of his old campaign managers actually came out and said that he did not expect to get that far.
He didn't. He just, like, I think he was talking to some strategist, some idiot Republican strategist, and says, and like, that guy just wanted to get rid of Trump at this point. Like, he was sick of talking to the guy, so he just decided to say something in a joke, like, why don't you just say you're against money in politics or something like that, you know? Something like that, alright? He actually did, and he won the nomination. It just shows how crap the strategists are. Like, are they purposely picking the worst possible strategies or something? What's going on here? I really
Yeah. And they assume that this election is like every other election. This election is so weird that literally Gary Johnson and Jill Stein are defeating Trump and in the youth vote going to polls. Like Trump is in fourth among young people under 30.
fucking hell. Really?
Yeah.
What's Hillary? I'm just curious.
I think Hillary's like number one. Then is Gary Johnson, the pseudo-libertarian. Then it is Jill Stein, who's kind of reasonable but still not an anarchist. And then Donald Trump.
I mean, if you forced me to pick one of those douchebags, you know what? I'd probably pick Jill Stein, but whatever. Don't know about
Yeah.
you.
I'd rather pick her.
Well, I mean, I live in a state where my vote basically doesn't matter no matter who I vote for. So I mean, I think I could get away with voting for Jill Stein, but if I lived in a purple state, I would just vote for Hillary Clinton because I just want to keep Trump out of there at all. I mean, it comes to who is obviously worse, and Trump is obviously worse.
The thing is, none of your votes matter. I mean, you're in a deep blue state, and vegans in a deep red state, so none of your votes matter. Me, it doesn't matter to me at all because I'm not even in that fucking country. But even for my election, it didn't matter because I was in a deep Labour area. So screw it.
My thing is that I feel like people should stop voting. They did that in South Africa, and then that's how the apartheid ended. It was because the anti-apartheid went from a terrorist group to an actual legitimate opposition. Because
I've been trying to convince people not to vote and not to vote for the lesser of two evils. But if no one else, if other people don't stop voting, I don't want to be known as the guy who let someone get a certain presidency, which luckily I live in a state where my vote does not matter, so I could get away with zero voting at all, which I think may end up being what happens. I said to Kevin Logan on Twitter that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are my options. I think instead I'll stay home and have a wank.
Yeah.
At least that I'll change something, which is whether my balls are filled with sperm or not.
Because I feel like if you vote for the lesser of evils, you're endorsing the system that gave you these awful choices.
Yeah, but if you don't vote, you don't have a say.
No, if you don't do direct action, you shouldn't complain about those who do direct action, nor should you complain about.
There you go.
Oh yeah, that's why I hate people who are so. That's why I hate people who are like all lives matter, because they're fucking. These are people who are basically the reason why people hate Black Lives Matter doing stuff like road blockades is because it makes them uncomfortable, because they have to be faced with the reality that black people face, which is that black people are discriminated against by the police. They're more likely to be stopped and frisked, despite the fact that they basically, at basically the same rate as white people, are just as likely to have drugs on them.
Which shouldn't be a crime in the first place, but whatever.
So that means 9 times as many white people have drugs on them as black people, because that's the way the demographics are. Right. And I'm not using the exact numbers here, but I mean it's like 13% of the population is blacks compared to the white and Hispanic populations, which so I mean there's such a higher population of white people that a lot more white people are actually on drugs than black people. But black people are more likely to be frisked because they're more likely to be poor, and poor people are policed. So I mean, I also hate when people ignore class consciousness, which is something that I'm actually going to be talking about with TSF when I go on their channel, the Skeptic Feminist, is I'm going to talk about class consciousness when I talk to them about, because I'm going to be doing this about anarcho-communism and anarcho-feminism, and about like how it differs from the mainstream ideology of feminism, and how I really think it's more of a scope thing, because I believe that the goals of feminism today, that it would be really dumb if you decided that just because you're an anarchist that you're not going to help them with those goals. I think that you should just continue to push against the state after those goals are achieved. The less power that the state has in controlling someone, or the less power that corporations have in controlling someone, the less power they have to exercise over people. I mean, there is a trade-off, which is the fact that you're more likely to get people who are comfortable. But if you get people who aren't comfortable, those people can, I think, really rally the people.
We have a tanky in the chat.
Well, I've been looking at the chat.
Of course we have a fucking tanky in the chat.
Tanky in the chat.
Tanky!
Sup, fans, here.
Well, I mean, I have a funny enough, I have a Maoist that subscribed to me. I have a Democratic Socialist subscribed to me. I have some liberals that are subscribed to me.
Yeah.
Because quite honestly, I think a lot of it is, but to me, it just doesn't make sense why, I mean, I get exactly where you're coming from with the people not voting. I think that really would be the best thing. If we could, honestly, I've tried to convince as many people to not vote, but enough people are brainwashed into the system that they're going to look at me and they're going to say, well, why don't you vote? And I'm going to say, because it's not going to get anything done. I also try to point out how the electoral college system works, which means that you could actually have less people vote for one person, but that person still gets the majority vote due to how the system is rigged based on district. It's an absolutely rigged system. They did polling. Bernie was way more popular than Hillary Clinton, but Hillary Clinton did much better in the gerrymandered system and in the rigged system that's meant to protect the status quo. Now, again, I'm not like saying that Bernie Sanders would have been the end-all, be-all if he had managed to get past the rigged system, but I think he's a good example of how the system is rigged.
So, yeah, but I think the argument we should use on liberals is that, look, the system is so rigged. Look what happened to Bernie Sanders. Do you actually think they're going to let someone who's going to shake the system up, or won't it be more productive if you just abolish that system?
Well, I mean, the system really hates Jeremy Corbyn.
It does. They're trying to kick him out.
Democratic Socialist 01, which I've actually started watching his channel. It's a pretty good channel.
Yeah.
I mean, I may not agree with him on some things, but I do agree with him on his assessment of Jerry Corbyn being at least somewhat of a socialist. Like, maybe he's a democratic socialist, but he's not a, It depends. I mean, you do have to. I've stopped trying to argue semantics with words because then it gets into an absolute. The debate becomes pointless when you start arguing definitions and arguing semantics.
You're right, they're actually all right.
Because
You are right, and that's basically what ANCAPs do all the time, isn't it?
yeah, they argue
Oh
semantics.
god, another
So, I mean,
tanky went on.
Well,
Another tanky went on a chat. He threw it, the asshole.
thank you.
Okay.
Oh god, it's Heater.
Oh, that guy's a prick.
Oh man.
Do you think that it's the best thing to do to insult your audience? I mean, I do it all the time, but do you think it's really the best thing to do, the most smart thing?
Not.
I insult
Probably
my
not.
I insult my audience because they're all fuckwads. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. But from a serious standpoint, though, I mean, I like to insult people who I agree with sometimes, just because I think it's a breath of fresh air once in a while to just kind of roast people. Like if you're doing it in a non-serious manner and you do it as like a, hey, this isn't meant to be like a bash against you. I think that it's something that can be done very friendly.
Yeah, the
But
only two people who seem to be watching are just two tankies.
okay.
Sad.
So the only people watching right now are Leninists.
Harley and Hector.
Oh, one of them subscribed to me, Harley.
Yeah, he subscribed to me too. Anyways, let's continue on.
Alright then. So what are we going to talk about now?
Well, we could talk about reactionary modernism, or the neo-reactionary movement, or the Dark Enlightenment.
Because we can talk about the...
the reactionary atheists, also known as new atheists.
Well, not just the new atheists. You've got the men's rights activists as well. Them guys, they're screwed in the face.
No, there's.
Let's talk about the new atheists.
All right.
And then we'll talk about the other.
Fair enough.
I also specifically said the reactionary atheists, people who are all explicitly atheists and all explicitly reactionary. Guys like Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins. I mean, Dawkins, I have some respect for him on the fact that he's a scientist, and I think he did some sort of biology theory that he actually wrote, but he's not known for that. He's known for his book, The God Delusion, which I don't think was all that bad of a book, actually, but he's known for basically hating religion to such an extent. Like, I think it's perfectly fine to hate the dogma. But I think that a lot of these people seem to get to a point where they're actually anti-secular. I mean, being against religion having any power is definitely a good thing. The more secular an area is, the more secular a system is, the less religious people are likely to be. I mean, if you look at secularism in America has basically lost. America hasn't been secular in a while. It has a
still listen.
It's secular to some extent.
Still is the Constitution.
Okay, it's secular to some extent, which is the fact that there is no forced state religion, so to speak. I mean, actually, funny enough, when I was on the Skeptic Feminist subscriber chat, I was talking. This guy Adrian started talking about how the workplace. He talked about how on the workplace they don't actually care what your religion is, that you can pray to whatever fucking god or gods you like, as long as you work for 10 cents a year or no money a year, they don't care because they just want to exploit you. So, I mean, we have the state religion of capitalism in that extent, but I mean, as far as official religions go, there is no state religion. Like, you're not forced into Christianity, Islam, or anything like that. Of course, the Republican Party wants to do that, but they've never been able to do it because there's been enough people to say, "Fuck no, I'm not doing that," or not. Like, funny enough, there are a lot of Christians who have said, well, no, you can't really force any religion on anybody, because if you do that, like, I mean, what's funny too is that the Republican Party in the 80s, even under Reagan, who was basically where the decline of the Republican Party to what it is today started. I mean, Reagan, who was the worst president of his time at that point, like, I mean, he basically, we went from Jimmy Carter, who may have not been the best economic president, but who was very, very diplomatic and managed to keep us out of wars that I don't think anyone else could have, or that I don't think any Republican could have kept us out of. We went from that to the first like super neocon president, which was Reagan. But even Reagan had some quotes that were secularist. Even he believed in secularism and the idea of not forcing a state religion, despite the fact that he was a younger creationist. So I mean, sure, he was super religious, but he still understood the idea of not forcing religion on people, at least to some extent. He was more secular than the modern day Republican Party. And well, I mean, there's varying levels of secular, because you can have Turkey, which is secular in the sense that you won't get hanged for being an infidel, or you won't get your head chopped off or whatever.
It's also a misconception that Jimmy Carter actually was a peaceful president. He really wasn't.
Well, he was more peaceful than any of the Republicans to follow him.
Well, any Democrat's pretty much more peaceful than the Republicans, just about.
Except Hillary.
Except Obama. Obama managed to beat George W. Bush's record.
Yeah.
Obama, there's not been a day that Obama has been in office that we were not at war with some other country that didn't do any fucking thing. With some country that we shouldn't be fucking involved with.
Yeah.
And you've got to say that Obama just continued Bush's foreign policy.
Well, that's what he did. It's just Bush 2.0.
I mean, what about if Obama?
It should be done about now.
Well, I think personally that religion is one of the most dishonest things imaginable, because even a lot of Christian philosophers early on admitted that they have to take a leap of faith because they know that they could be wrong. And just very little evidence Jesus actually existed.
Of course, it's most likely Jesus was just some guy with a god complex, and there were probably tons of these people around. I mean, there's a disorder where people go to fucking Jerusalem and they think they're the Messiah or something. It's called Jerusalem syndrome. It could have been one of these people, you see. There was lots of them out there. His story was just one that stuck through the ages for some reason. And others like that was Muhammad's story.
People claim to be.
It's all the same shit.
There are a lot of people.
Like that with a god complex.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of people.
That's the side that I lean on, is that Jesus was a guy with a god complex. Or as I call him, Jesus. Hello?
Hello? Yeah.
Okay, so I am still in call. I thought that like I had left, because I said something and everything went silent.
I see.
Yeah.
If my camera was on right now, you guys wouldn't see anything because my phone's in my pocket.
Yeah, but we do need to reduce the role of religion over how it controls people, and I think it starts with encouraging young children to be free thinkers.
Yeah, it starts with encouraging secularism
and free thought. Free thought and
when secularism and science is held over everything else, religion starts to disappear. Because you have more people that are willing to choose the part of secularism that says you do not have to have a religion. Yes, there are some people, of course, who are going to choose some other religion. But then if you hold science there, you make it disappear even faster. Religion is not nearly as big of a force as it was 1,000 years ago during the
True.
Crusades, where people were killing themselves over whether you worshipped, whether you thought Jesus was the prophet or you thought that Muhammad was the prophet. I mean, it's pretty fucking ridiculous when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with secularism. But I think we should encourage people to think critically and not take arguments from authority seriously.
Well, that's part of what secularism
Yeah.
at least should entail. And that's part of what science is really should entail, is that you should use what you have evidence for, not what you want to believe, not what you wish to believe.
Yeah, but the issue is there's a lot of like atheists and secularists who are complete assholes, MRAs, and they
I know.
use
Well, no,
buzzwords.
that's the reason why I said science and not atheism in itself.
Yeah.
And also, you can also say that a lot of these atheists is not a synonym of secularist.
True.
Stalin was an atheist, but he wasn't a secularist. He wanted to abolish as much religion as possible so that he could consolidate the power of the state. I mean, it was a cult of personality. It was a religion, basically. But it wasn't a religion in the traditional sense. But it didn't encourage free thinking. And just because you encourage free thinking doesn't mean everybody's going to be a free thinker, but it means more people will be free thinkers. Like, you have to think of everything as a long-term goal much rather than a short-term goal. If you think of everything as a long-term goal, if you think of everything that every one of your goals as a short-term goal, you get nothing done. If you don't accept concessions from the other side once in a while, for a compromise, nothing ever gets done. You accept those concessions, but you still try to force more out. And you still argue from the same position you had before. You don't pull an Obama and go from Obamacare originally had universal health care inside of its in its platform, in its writing. It originally had universal health care. Republicans didn't want universal health care, so Obama put it as and also Obama didn't want that, but so they put it as
I hate Obamacare.
okay, so well, it's better than a free market capitalist system where you can get denied for a pre-existing condition even under government.
Yeah, but I got all those red tape that I have to go through when I go to a psychiatrist or a doctor.
You had that fucking red tape anyway.
I had it worse. It was worse.
Okay, so to argue that Obamacare is bad is not wrong, but to argue that it isn't an improvement is asinine.
I don't like the red tape.
I don't like the red tape either, but the less of it there is, the better for everybody.
Yeah, just be sure that doctors don't promote alternative medicine, because that's just a pseudoscience.
Oh yeah, alternative medicine. That's like pointing at a dog and saying, "That's my alternative cat." It's still not a cat.
Well, not to be confused, because there are herbs with medicinal properties, but a lot of times herbology is completely full of pseudo-medicine.
Well, the idea that you can cure everything with herbs is absolutely ridiculous.
But you can do a lot of things with herbs. Like aspirin came from a willow tree, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I'm allergic to aspirin.
Oh, but like there are things in the jungle that a lot of meds are derived from, So it does have a lot of uses. That's why you should save the rainforest.
Of course. But can that really be defined as alternative?
Well, I
I mean,
honestly I don't think so.
okay, if I don't think so either.
I just see it as medicine that works generally. Because I don't
Hey, do
see
you know what they
homeo.
call? Hey, do you know what they call alternative medicine that works?
What?
Medicine.
Yeah.
I fucking love Shive. I mean, he may be a liberal, but me and him get along pretty well.
Yeah. They're accusing us of using tanky as a buzzword.
Well, I mean, it is kind of a buzzword. That's why I just use the term Leninist.
I'd rather call them Stalinists because they worship his ass.
uh,
Even though
and
they
Tom's
say
got
that
the
Maoists.
and Tom just had the biggest fucking smile on his face. Well, I mean, it depends. There are people. I respect people, or I respect people by calling their ideas by the name that they call them by. Like, I mean, Marxist-Leninist, it isn't that far off to say Leninist instead of Marxist-Leninist. Because, I mean, quite honestly, they're the same thing. They mean the same thing, it's just me shortening and dropping the Marxist part.
Yeah.
And then saying, like, someone who supports Maoism, I'm going to call them a Maoist. I understand that there are differences between the two philosophies. Do I think that they are both equally, or do I think they're both wrong? Yes, I do. But Maoism was critical of some of the Leninist politics. By the way, I'm sorry if I sound out of breath. I literally just ran to the laundry room and back up.
Yeah, let's talk about those MRAs.
Alright.
A
I've been
lot
so
The
of
dis-
account take down MRAs.
Oh, that's a good Twitter page.
Yeah,
There's a Twitter page called.
the way I see the MRN is just a bunch of people these wannabe alpha males, right? They want all the fucking pussy they can
Who
get,
sells
and they get
testosterone.
none. So what they do, they decide to say, well, it's the woman's fault that I'm not getting any pussy. And they just start this fucking tirade against women that because the women won't go out with me. But I'm a nice guy.
It's
It's
exactly.
ironic because they cry about victim complex. As soon as they don't get laid, they're the biggest victims in the world.
Well, apparently, if you want to get laid, MRAs, here's what you do.
Well, it's
Look
just
what
like.
Elliot Roger did. There you go.
Okay.
Can
Well,
you say it
actually,
again?
That's
I
what
didn't hear.
Elliot Roger was part of a group that was called part of an MRM group called Incel, which stands for Involuntary Celibate.
Yeah, yeah.
There are a bunch of MRMs who basically blame women for the fact that they can't get laid when it could just have everything to do with them or the fact that they just haven't found someone who's found them attractive yet. I mean, so what do you say to women who are mad that they haven't gotten? Like, is there a group for women that haven't gotten laid who want to get laid? Oh wait, no, because the MRM's just gonna call them sluts, despite the fact that they could be virgins.
What about love shy?
About what?
That's an actual term. Love shy.
Love shy?
Yeah, I saw on Rational Wiki. Rational Wiki.
Oh, Rational Wiki is really funny. I mean, they absolutely destroyed Bill Maher. They called Bill Maher. Bill Maher he's never called himself anti-vax, but all his points have been anti-vax.
There you go.
Bill Maher has never referred to himself as anti-vax, but almost all of his points are anti-vax. He's
You
also
say
super.
anti-vax? You didn't make that
He
up.
is.
Sorry.
He is anti-vax. He's perpetuated the myth that vaccines cause autism, which is not ableist at all.
Ninja actually
Sarcasm.
believes that. I mean, Operation Anarchism actually believes that. Not the platform, but that guy.
He believes that vaccinations cause autism.
Yeah, he literally thinks there's a conspiracy
He's
That's
not.
to
fucking
cover it up.
Just no. No, he's not that stupid, is he? I don't believe you.
not ableist at all. Nope, he's definitely not ableist in any
Yeah.
way, sarcasm intended.
Yeah, definitely not ableist. Definitely. I mean, how else can you describe it? Not ableism, huh?
Well, I mean,
Obviously.
I can see exactly why Asta got pissed, because she was trying to tell him like where she was coming from, and he wouldn't let her say anything without just calling her irrational.
Yeah, it's like a buzzword of his.
Irrational. It's like when Thunderfoot calls himself a pluralist, which the R in pluralist stands for rational.
Just
But you know what Thunderfoot? Do you know what Thunderfoot is far from? Rational.
Yeah.
What rational? I mean, he tried arguing with this person. I don't know what the word. There might have been a creationist or something, and he was just stumbling all over the place. He was hesitating along. He wasn't very confident at all in his argument. He really wasn't.
He's good at debunking creationists, but when it comes to actual logic, he fails miserably.
Well, I mean, creationists. Well, you also forget that creationists are very low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
They are very true.
It's not like he's never presented an actual rational argument against feminism. He's basically appealed to, don't touch my nostalgia and don't touch my free speech. My free speech, which I mean, I think Operation Anarchism does that himself sometimes.
He does it all the time.
It's don't touch my free speech. And I mean, hey, I do have a lot of respect for what he's trying to do, but I do think that he has some tendencies that just piss me off.
I don't know. I would actually call myself a free speech absolutist. What I mean by that is, I'm for free speech in every case that isn't one of three things: slander, libel, or direct threats of violence.
That's basically me.
Ninja says, Operation Anarchism, the YouTube, not the platform, says he supports free speech even in those cases of threats of violence, slander, and libel.
Is he really?
Yeah, I think he told me that once or a few times.
I remember talked to him a few times, but I don't remember.
Well, I mean, I definitely agree with his anti-fa stance, though. The idea that basically, like, I think that if you're part of a group that preaches genocide, that you have the right to just beat the person up who's in that group, who's promoting genocide. Because it's like, hey, you guys, to me, that seems like a very good threat of violence if you're threatening a race war where white people are just going to kill off all the black people. That seems like genocide to me, and it seems like a direct threat of violence.
What the fuck?
Sorry, my mouth is really dry.
Yeah, I guess that way after talking a while. I mean, you talked a lot in this. Hold on, let's have a look at some comments. God, there's shitloads of comments.
And mostly tankies.
Oh,
I can imagine.
No, he's not. He's fat.
I can imagine. I'm not even looking at the comments.
Social justice warrior.
There's Red Gold.
Shut up, US Jew. Shut up, US Jew.
And might as well. Do we sign out already, or?
Red Cat 101. Who's this guy? Who's any of these people?
Some tankies who follow vegan, I guess.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, but
oh crap, I slipped there. Maoists and Leninists. Not sure which one they are.
they're
Because
Maoists.
because I'm not looking at the comments, but there's some comments, but they're Maoists who follow vegan. Or they might have just come across this.
Maybe, I'm not really sure. I mean, the Ordo seem to have that kind of atmosphere about it.
They seem to have very similar. They seem to have very similar rhetoric.
They do.
These two groups get along very well.
Yeah, what do we do? Wants to do debate an anarchist with an anarchist moderator, apparently.
Well, that's just Kwame's job.
Well, I mean,
That's what Kwame's job.
Yeah, you want to debate Kwame? Kwame's always up
I'm
for it.
okay. I'm okay with having legitimate talks with Maoists and Leninists. If they want to actually have a fair talk and they don't want to just get a group of people to talk down to me. That's why the other day, Vegan, when you were in that room with all the Maoists and
Yeah, they just ambushed
Leninists.
me.
Well, I mean, that's why I ended up leaving, because it was like they really just wanted an exercise in ego to talk down to us. It's like, well, if you want to have an actual conversation, like, I would not mind having an actual conversation, and in fact, I feel like I could be slightly enlightened. I feel like you could be enlightened. I think in actual conversation, everyone leaves a bit more enlightened. Someone being talked down to, it's just, that's the Sargon method of debating, really. That's what it comes down to. Being more like Sargon.
Tankies are general assholes. From my experience, they're just scum. Scummy people.
Well, if these guys are ever up for a debate, then, we'll get Kwame on it. That'll work.
Well, I mean, I'd definitely be up for a debate if any one of them wanted to do it.
I bet Kwame could do it alone. 3v1, I bet he could.
Of course, I could be the moderator, though.
No, he could.
I mean, but I was also on the debate team in high school.
I mean, I've never moderated a debate myself. I don't know if you have. I don't know if any of you have.
But I mean,
I think Kwame should debate him.
Yeah. I think we all agree with that. That'd be a great debate if you get someone who's actually knows about anarchism a lot.
Wow.
And then put them against.
Oh, we should get.
Put them against someone who knows a lot about.
I would love it I would love it if someone like Love, Life, and Anarchy was actually willing to debate someone like Kwame.
Well, that'd be a fucking curb stop.
Oh yeah. Oh fuck yes, it would be a curb stop. Dude,
I mean,
just me versus Love, Life, and Anarchy would be a curb stop.
It would.
Never mind Kwame.
The guy's crap. He gets some of the worst people at debating on to debate with him and just destroys them with fallacious.
I mean, what Love, Life, and Anarchy does is basically like when a creationist argues with Thunderfoot. They're trying to get the person who's worst at debating to debate them.
Good point, actually. That's exactly that. That's
well, not to mention, he never has moderators in his debate either.
He doesn't. But he doesn't want them because it'll fuck him up.
See, me, I like to have moderators in my debates. That way, I make sure that I'm not just shitting all over someone.
I mean,
if you shit all over someone, you don't prove yourself right necessarily. You prove yourself an asshole, though.
Yeah, you do. I mean, it'd be an absolute curb stop for going with that.
It's like the Bill Nye versus Kem so-called debate.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you saw that was a curb stop from Bill Nye.
Well, are you on about the CNN debate where they pretend evolution and creationism are equal?
Yep.
That's not even.
Bill Nye the Science Guy versus Marsha Blackburn, I think. Is that the name?
Hey, do you know what it took for Anderson Cooper to act like an someone
Because liberal bias or something. That's why.
it took the okay. So for Anderson Cooper to act like an actual fucking journalist, it took someone basically who had had an anti-gay career all the way up until just before the shooting in Orlando, and was suddenly using gay people as like her reason that she should get reelected as basically the town Supreme Court leader. And then he's like, well, no, you've proven that you, or no, state Supreme Court justice or some shit like that. But he's like, well, no, you have been trying to keep gay marriage off of Florida, or you have been trying to make anti-gay marriage the law in Florida for a long time. Like, he's like, well, no, looking at this, this, and this, you're not for gay people. And that's what it took for him to be an actual fucking journalist, was that his ass was on the line. I mean, it annoys me when fucking Ted Cruz can sit there and say, well, being gay is immoral, and a guy like Anderson Cooper, who is openly gay, just sits there and nods along. I mean,
the mainstream media is an absolute fucking joke.
They're just wankers.
CNN is an attempt. It's basically this. It comes from this misconception that you have to be politically neutral to have accurate, to be an objective and unbiased journalist.
No, you're not unbiased.
There are some issues where they just happen to go one way, and they're not equal. They're not equal positions. Stuff like global warming, you can't say that global warming doesn't fucking exist when science is saying it does. I mean, when people are if they have like this evolution versus creationism debate, and then at the end you have the anchor say, all right, that means, they say, oh yeah, by the way, just so you know, the evolution thing is right. We just did this to be fair to the guy. I mean, because you can't put inaccuracy in school. Quite honestly, you have to be like, some things just have to be objective. Education is one of those things. You cannot have people say, well, evolution is a religion, so therefore my religion can be taught in school. Your religion can be taught based on its based on history. I mean, we briefly covered Islam in 7th grade. I mean, talking about the Crusades. When you talk about the Crusades, you talk about Islam versus Christianity in the Middle Ages. I mean, that's not them shoving a religion down your throat. That's just them talking about the religious aspects of the wars in the Crusades. Because the Crusades was just a bunch of different wars. It wasn't even just one war that lasted a long time. There were 4 different Crusades, and there were 4 different and there were different wars fought. And this went on for well over for quite a long period of time. I mean, talking about the religious aspects and how basically saying that Christianity seems to be a lot more dogmatic about it wouldn't be wrong, because the Muslims were originally letting people go into Jerusalem. They were allowing Christians and Jews into Jerusalem to pray at the site, to make pilgrimage. They were not treating the site as something exclusive. But then you have a Catholic leader who wanted to make it seem like, who basically decided to say all this about the Islamic people, and that ended up turning into, it was basically them wanting conquest. So they basically told the people who had never been to Jerusalem, who hadn't been able to get there because they weren't able to, they basically told these people, yeah, they took Jerusalem and we need to go and take it back. And then you had certain Christians fighting other sects of Christianity. You had them killing Jews. Catholics were killing members of the Orthodox Christian Church. Catholics were killing Jews. So, I mean, it basically turned into an all-out fucking orgy, basically, of religious war. And I'm saying that because that's the best term I could think of for it, is as an orgy.
Well, I think we should just end this brothel right now. We went on for a little bit, and I think we're starting to lose people.
Yeah,
All right.
Well,
This
we all
is
in
the.
agreement?
Oh,
We all in agreement?
Yes.
yeah.
All right then. We're ended it.
This is
Okay.
the vegan. Oh, you sign out and I'll sign out last.
Well, no, I was going to say you sign out the way you normally do, but then you started to do it.
Oh, okay. This is the vegan anarchist. No meat.
No meat.
No
No
milk. No
milk.
master.
No masters.
See you.